Hi, well, I'm doing this video even though I don't have anything to report about ride wait times or using Magical Express or anything like that because I had a new kind of adventure today that I thought was wonderful and it never occurred to me to do it, or maybe it did, but I had never done it before, so I thought I'd share. I decided on my last park day that I would go back to Epcot. However, I wasn't planning on riding any rides. If I had remembered, I may have tried to get a Remy's boarding pass, but I didn't remember, and I ended up thinking, well, that's okay. Hopefully someone can ride it who hasn't ridden it before. My goal was going to be going through the countries very slowly, shopping, doing all the movies I possibly could, stopping to watch entertainment, etc. So here's what I did. Epcot's regular opening time was 11, so early entry was 10:30. I lucked out, guys, and ended up with a 7:45 a.m. breakfast at Topolino's Terrace, which is usually totally sold out. It just popped up last night, and I decided I had to grab it because I heard that it's delicious and wonderful, and the character interactions were fun. So even though it's, a pricier breakfast, I thought, yeah, I'm going to do that. So that was wonderful. So I started my morning 7:45 at Topolino's Terrace, and of course, since I was going to Epcot, that didn't open till later anyway, so no big deal. Stuffed myself. There was so much food. I took a picture of all the food. The waiter was so great. And because I'm staying at the Riviera, I was able to get my leftovers, which there's plenty of leftovers to go, because I could just take them up to my room and put them in the fridge. So I started packing today after breakfast because I'm leaving tomorrow morning. Originally, I was going to leave tomorrow evening, but had kind of a family emergency, needed to get home faster, so started packing this morning. Then hopped on the wonderful Skyliner and ended up at Epcot. Gosh, I guess I was walking in a little after 10, maybe 10:15. But again, I wasn't rushing to do anything. I went into the store that's right at the entrance, the International Gateway entrance, got my son his present, then went over to the UK Pavilion because I needed to take a quick restroom break, and it was so neat to just wander around the UK Pavilion with no one there, because the crowd that was starting to build for Frozen was further on in the Canada and England area. So wandered around and then slowly walked over the bridge towards the rope near France. So I waited for the 10:30 opening time close to France. And here's how my day went. Walked into France, very few people were there, and decided to watch the Beauty and the Beast sing-along. Oh my gosh, that was so adorable. I really loved it. It was so much fun. Then slowly walked through the France stores, found a thank you present for my wonderful in-laws, and that I think they're going to love. Unfortunately, that was the heaviest thing I bought, so it ended up kind of dragging me down later in the day, but that's okay. It's a great present. And then, of course, made my way into Morocco. And I have to tell you, being in the countries before there's very many people there, because the people who do early entry are rushing to rides, understandably, but I wasn't doing that. It's incredible to be in the countries when there's not a lot of people there, and Morocco takes the cake, because I think Morocco is the most beautiful country there is, and being in that place with no one there and being able to take pictures of just the tile work and the arches with no one around, just there's no words. It was great. And I made my way through the countries in that direction, starting at France and going on. I stopped and saw every movie I possibly could. When I was in Japan, I happened across the New Year Storyteller, and She was so great. I learned a lot of cool stuff from her. The only time I went into Future World was after I passed Mexico. I was still on the hunt for a magnet, which, funny thing, none of the stores had magnets because apparently they sell out real quickly, so I'm going to have to improvise about that. But I went into the Celebration store on the hunt for a magnet, and I went into the first aid station for the last 3 days. In every single park I've been at, I've made my way into the first aid station to ask for Tylenol and bandages for my toes because my feet are not in great shape. And they're always great. So don't forget, if you need something, go to the first aid stations because they're really wonderful, and they're really knowledgeable about like what kind of bandages you need for depending on what's going on with your feet. I know that sounds funny, but they deal with it every day. So then I just slowly kept making my way around, stopped in Canada, saw the Canada movie, which I had to because, of course, Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara, oh my gosh, two of my favorite actors, had to listen to them. Now, as wonderful as it is to be in the countries before there's a lot of people there, that only lasts a few hours because, of course, eventually Epcot gets super crowded. So it's not like I had every country empty. So I guess I'd say if you're going to do this, start with whatever country you most want to see. I will say that for me, it was, France, Morocco, and even Japan. I mean, those were very empty, and it was really enjoyable, those three. I loved it. I didn't end up leaving the park until I think about 3:45. So I really did take my time and went slowly and went into almost every single store. I bought quite a few things, probably more than I should have, but that's okay. That's part of the fun. So I, really focused on World Showcase, and it was wonderful. I really felt like I got to enjoy everything, and it was just the kind of day that I wanted. The only time I stopped for any food, because I really never got hungry after that big breakfast, but after I left the Canada movie, I noticed the popcorn stand, and I was really curious about that maple popcorn, and it was like 3:40 by then, or maybe it wasn't 3, it was more like 3 o'clock by then, and I hadn't eaten anything since, like 8 o'clock breakfast. And so even though I wasn't starving, I could go for a little snack. So I got maple popcorn, and I got a frozen Coke with Crown Royal in it. That was a perfect snack. And then got back on the Skyliner, came home, finished packing, watched a couple YouTube videos. But I have to say, scheduling a slow Epcot day to really soak in the countries, do your shopping, actually watch some of these movies was so worth it. I highly recommend it.